Good evening. In 1960, the U.S. entered the Vietnam War. The IRA started its fight against the British. John F. Kennedy won the presidential election. Chubby Checker and the Twist started a new dance craze. The Soviet missile shot down the U.S. U-2 spy plane. What was that about?
Wow.
Aluminum cans were used for the first time, and a little film about a boy who really loved his mother hit the big screen. It was Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. So join Suki Suburbia and myself on Slasher Sports Cinema. Could Psycho be the most influential horror film this side of the Universal Monster, Suki?
Oh, it is. It absolutely is. There was nothing before it. There was nothing, but there has been plenty after because it existed.
You know what? Anytime you ever pretend to stab somebody or even really stab somebody, do you ever make a sound effect with your mouth when you do
Ear,
it?
ear, ear, ear.
And then they wake up from their death and tell you that's not how it sounds. But my question to you, Suki, is are you a bath girl or a shower girl?
I'm a shower girl, but I've been trying to change that. There's so much luxuriousness about taking a bath with the oils and the candles and, you know,
Putting those oils all over your body. Yeah, I'm with
yeah.
it. I like to put bubbles in my bath and stick my toes out of the water,
Wow,
like
look at
like they
you.
do in the commercials.
Calgon's taking you away.
Yeah, and then I can. It's easier to make my foot fetish content too. So
There's that.
yeah, but Janet Leigh became a bath girl after this film was made, Suki,
Oh
and for
man,
very good
Janet.
reason. Well, she had to use a stunt double, not a stunt double, like a body double.
A
She
body
didn't have
double.
to, but she chose to use a body double, right? Um, and a hammer in herself. We're going to talk about hammers in a little bit, but yeah. So she basically watched this scene happen third person, and she said, "You
150
know what?
times.
150 times," and said, "You know what? I'm good on showers. I'm good on them. I'm a bath girl now." Yeah,
Wait, is
yeah.
that true
Janet,
story?
true story, as true as can be. I wouldn't lie to you. Not today on all
I was about to
days.
say, come on. Oh,
Yeah,
whoa.
yeah. Monday through Friday, I'll lie to you. On a Saturday, this is important information. But this movie is about a Phoenix secretary who embezzles 40 grand, which doesn't seem like a lot of money. Back in 1960, though, that was $8.5 billion from her employer's client. She goes on the run, checks into a remote motel run by a little guy under the domination of his mama.
Mm-hmm.
Suki, how badass is this movie?
It has 120 red herrings. You think you're going to get something, and then it's like, nope, that's not what you're getting. We're going to throw you
Mm-mm.
something else.
A little misdirection, making you look at one thing while
Yeah.
something else is happening, right? Maybe
Yes.
like maybe like Dan Wilson here. You're looking at Dan Wilson perched atop this microphone when boom, I can come and get you anytime.
Did you look at Alfred? Did you find what scene he was in?
You know what? It's funny you say that. Usually he is in the beginning of every film that
He
he is
is.
in because he doesn't want to take away because he thought that people were going to start looking for him too much and just lose all the plot. So tell
Yeah.
everybody which scene he's in.
He is in the scene where she's walking back into her office from having her little rendezvous. Her
I didn't know
rendezvous.
I didn't know you spoke French.
Every now
Wow.
and then. Je ne sais
Wow.
quoi. Every now and
Oh
then.
man. I love that. Um Eiffel Tower.
Good
Pretty
job,
good.
Emily.
Thank
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
so much. Alfred Hitchcock, you just talked about him. Vertigo, The Lady Vanishes, The Birds, Strangers on a Train, Rear Window.
This man.
Why is this man the master of suspense?
He
He
gives that
is.
slow burn. He gives you the
Oh, man.
slow burn. You know what he did for the opening of the movie? You couldn't be late. So he shut the doors. So there was lines wrapped around because people didn't know what was happening, but they could hear what was going on and they were going to wait for it.
The, you know, he had an out of the box way of thinking,
Mhm.
and you know, First of all, let me tell you something. Hitchcock would have not liked your previous episode of Suki's Honeydew Project. He would not have liked it at all.
What
Do
are
you
you
want to know
trying
why?
to do? Why?
Because he had this phobia. Do you know about his phobia?
What women who turn them down? Which what? What phobia?
Oh man, that's a phobia of mine as well. Maybe I could direct movies. But he had a phobia of eggs.
Are you serious?
Serious as an over hard scrambled egg.
And I love him. I never knew that. I never knew he had a phobia of eggs. Did something happen to him as a child?
Who knows? But he sure wouldn't buy that
That egg,
apparatus that
man, 7 minutes, 7 minutes. And I've been living my best life. I had 60 eggs.
six.
Not anymore.
Okay, 60 for those South.
Like,
So
I'm just like,
you're, you're gonna need to check out Suki's latest episode on her channel, and that link is going to be in the bio episode description of this episode, so check that out. But the master of suspense, which is ironic because if you've ever heard the man speak, like nothing could be less suspenseful than his own speech. But if you're a fan of horror, you don't need to be told who Alfred Hitchcock is.
no.
But maybe you never knew some of the X's and O's about some of his filming techniques. So, like, in order to create suspense in his films, he would alternate between different shots of maybe to extend filming time for a scene. That car ride from the office to the motel might have been 10 minutes long for Janet Leigh, or we'll call her Marion Crane because we're doing character names now.
Mm-hmm.
But that might have been a 10-minute scene if not for the from the window into the window, from the window into the window, just changing that vantage point so many times. And the reason he did that was to make it feel like the viewer is inside the car with Marion, looking out at what's looking in at her, because there's a lot of prying eyes that she was feeling on her, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can see it in a lot of his films, but yeah, he would just typically alternate between the character's point of view while driving, in like a close-up shot
Mm-hmm.
of her face
Yeah.
from the opposite direction. But he would do that to extend the scene, like get more out of it, and that heightened the drama, that heightened the suspense. But apparently, old Walt Disney didn't care for him because they refused to allow him to film at Disneyland in the early 60s because he made that quote unquote disgusting movie Psycho.
Speaking of which, the lead, Anthony Perkins, he had just come from being a teen dream. So this was like a big jump for him. It was a big jump. But what's also a big jump is that he had secrets. He had secrets and Norman had secrets. So it was like he chose the perfect character for himself at the time.
He might have hamstrung himself. I don't know what the past tense of hamstring is, if that's even a thing. But listen, you're the type of person, Suki, to bet on yourself. You will 100% bet on yourself. Alfred Hitchcock and Anthony Perkins both bet on themselves taking this film.
He did.
First of all, Hitchcock, he said, no, we're not going to take this $250,000 salary. We're going to take 60% of the film's net profits. That's what we're going to do. And that exceeded what would be $150 million today. And those numbers are not fudged like the last ones. $40,000 is not $8 billion in 2023.
The way that man was waving it in her face, I would have taken it too. He was getting on my nerves. That Texan. Was he a Texan? Seemed like a Texan. He was just waving in her face. Look at all this money. Look at all this money.
Yeah, that's a Texan
Look at it
thing
in my
to
purse.
do. Yeah, that's a Texan thing to do. Listen, before we get into the cast here, we got to do this thing that we do oh so often. We got to figure out who's the hammer for this episode. It's what we need to know. And in case you're new to the show, when I was just a young boy,
oh Lord,
I saw Sophia Loren on my TV.
Amen.
And I asked my dad, I said, who's that? He goes, son, that right there is a hammer. Something like that. And ever since then, in a playful way, not to objectify anyone. I'll objectify Bernadette Peters all day, but not to object these fine ladies in these films that we're watching. But to me, when you hear me say, "Oh, that's a hammer right there," that is the elite of the elite of the elite.
Creme de la creme.
More French.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm gonna learn a new language. I hate being monolingual. It's disgusting. I'm ready.
Okay. I gotta know, Suki, who's the hammer of this
The
film?
sister. The sister
Lila.
was investigating in heels and a coat dress. You can't get more badass than that. Heels and a coat dress. She walked in the door with little gloves on. What? And I'm just saying, classic.
Vera Miles is your pick.
Yes.
For the hammer of this film. Okay, so Vera Miles, known for The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Hell of a film right there. She was in The Searchers and about 160 other roles, including, Suki, one called The Initiation. All right, which I'm definitely going to dive into The Initiation in December, I think, when it celebrates 39 years on this planet. Okay, Vera Miles is actually from your neck of the woods, Suki. Did you know that? Oh, yeah. She's from Boise City, Oklahoma. That's where she's from.
No wonder. No wonder she was so classy.
Yes. I've never met a lady from Oklahoma that wasn't classy. Never. She was a Miss Kansas, though, back in 48. It was a good year. I remember it. That's a fact. That is a fact. But you know what? Let's talk about real quick my hammer. And I'm going to tell you who my hammer for this episode is. And that is the one and only Suki Suburbia. She went from being a mutual follow of mine on the Twitter machine due to our common fandom of the Washington Redskins football team / Commanders to being a person whose comedic Twittery got my attention as somebody I wanted to be the Ed McMahon to my Johnny Carson, where I knew from Jump Street I'd flown a little bit too close to the sun because she had more to offer than being Ed McMahon. No. She was Oprah, and Oprah ain't no sidekick. And really, Oprah ain't no Suki. And there's only one Suki. If there's another Suki, then it's made out of cardboard. All right. Suki is the first lady of Slasher Sports, and you can find her serving up kindness on Suki's Honeydew Project, to which you can find the link in the episode description of this episode right now. But Suki, it is my honor to induct you into the main wing of the Slasher Sports Hammer Hall of Fame.
Really, thank you. I mean, this is such an honor. Are you serious?
The main wing.
Billy.
That's
was it Janet Leigh?
Janet Leigh? No, when Janet Leigh, it was Suki Suburbia. I just told you.
Thank you.
But a close second.
This is so sweet. You know what? Because you fired me from your show, and then I was like, "What am I going to do now?" But thank you, Billy. You
verbs
really
are hard.
You really did help my whole thing. I appreciate.
You see, in Oklahoma, they raise them nice to look at, but they're not too smart. And I've always heard you can't be good looking and smart at the same time. At the same time, you can't be. That's why Suki doesn't know the meaning of the word fired. See, when you're fired, you don't usually get a promotion. You don't usually get, your own show going on. You just disappear from the brand altogether.
You just disappeared.
Okay, that has almost been me a million times. But no, Suki now has her own thing going on. Yeah. And it's something that I'm very proud to be associated with, and that is Suki's Honeydew Project. So go ahead and tell everybody, what is Suki's Honeydew Project?
Suki's Honeydew Project is me doing different things, trying different things, you giving me an idea and I try it out, different recipes, and telling you to be good to yourself, sweet to yourself and sweet to others, because you are the best person that is here, and I'm so glad that you are.
See what I mean? See what I mean? It just writes itself. All I got to do is sit back and listen. That's all you got to do. Sit back and listen. But we did talk about maybe if you're 1A and Vera Miles is 1B, 1C, we're going to give it to Lorene Tuttle, the sheriff's wife.
Oh my God.
Adorbs.
She was adorable.
Listen, she had some fantastic roles in her career too. She
Really?
and yeah, and no, she was not a do nothing bitch. Let me tell you that. Okay,
She is.
Uh, no,
She
she's
put that
absolutely
phone
not.
call through for the sheriff. She did that.
She was Ma Barker in Ma Barker's Killer Brood. Okay, she was Grandma Pusser in Walking Tall. She was
Oh,
in a film called Human Experiments with Linda Haynes, who was the hammer of the gods. Okay. And since you're here with that milky Cocoa Puff, Linda Haynes was also in the classic blaxploitation film Coffee.
oh man, they have a new one coming out. I forgot the name. I was going to
Who's
send you
gonna
the link. They have a
who's
new,
gonna
and it's got oh my god, now I can't think of her name. Okay, I'm gonna think of it later and send it to you. They got a new one coming out on that one Tubi.
to
Tubby.
be? Yeah.
Oh man, it's
Yeah.
gonna be awesome.
Tubby's where it's an app where I find my women. But
Oh,
listen, I'm gonna reel it back in
okay.
because I know we're turning into 6 degrees of separation here. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. But you talk about upcoming films, and there's a lot to be excited about with Coffee because listen, if you go back and check out the original, and not only Coffee, we're talking Foxy Brown, we're talking Scream, Blackula, Scream. Okay, and Scream, Blackula, Scream is one that we're going to review on Slasher Sports Cinema, and I'm going to do that with the great James Alexander. You're going to remember him, Suki.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, we
funny.
did it. He's a very funny guy. We did an episode together over the film The People Under the Stairs.
Classic.
One of my favorite episodes to this day, to this very day. But you got one preview in. Allow me to get another in. I actually watched the movie The Boogeyman last night in theaters,
How was
and it was pretty good, pretty good. But one of the previews caught me off guard, and there's an overlook of a very beautiful. It looked like it might have been Italy. I could be wrong.
it?
I've misnamed many bodies of water in my life. I make a habit of it, but the dialogue sounded familiar. The visuals look like something out of something I'd seen in the past. And then all of a sudden, I see Kenneth Branagh reprising his role as Hercule Poirot in the third installment of the Agatha Christie films, or
No,
the newer ones. So after Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile, we are getting a haunting in Venice. And
no.
I almost had to cut a hole in the bottom of my popcorn bucket because it was getting close. Okay. It was getting close.
What is
Almost almost accidentally buttered that popcorn one more time.
like? Oh man, are they
Yeah.
turning me on? Are
Yeah,
they? Do they know I'm here?
almost gave Orville Redenbacher a dirty Sanchez. And I'm not trying to do that in the movie theater. Not trying to do that in the movie theater. But Psycho 1960, written by a couple of dudes. All right. I think
Mm,
I don't really know how the writing dynamic here. Well, it was Joseph Stefano. All right. And he said that I think doing the screenplay for Psycho has done him more harm than good. Through the years, it's made it very difficult for me to get some of the other kinds of pictures that I would like to have gone on to. The same thing happened with Anthony Perkins. I don't know that it happened to Janet Leigh, but
well,
they
he got
kind of got
pigeonholed.
pigeonholed is the word of the day. A lot of people got pigeonholed because of this film. For
Hmm.
whatever reason, Vera Miles didn't happen. Janet Leigh didn't happen. But Anthony Perkins definitely happened. The writers, one of the writers, whose name is Robert Bloch, he probably wanted that because he was a horror guy through and through. He said, and I believe he wrote most of this story, but he once said that he had the heart of a child and he kept it in a jar on a shelf. That's the kind of guy he was. Okay. And I know you being a dad joke connoisseur, you can appreciate that. So Robert Bloch was he was actually a pen pal to H.P. Lovecraft. They'd never met. They'd never met, but he did a lot of Lovecraftian horror himself, or at least writing, because
Mhm,
fantastic writer. But with this dynamic of writers, it gets overlooked because we all talk about Hitchcock. We
mhm.
rarely talk about the writing team from this film. And yeah, that I think between Hitchcock, Block, and Stefano, I mean, that was a holy trinity right there, because this film knocked it out of the park. It's one of the greatest of all time. It is probably my second favorite Hitchcock film, and I'm really just being contrarian when I say it's my second favorite. It should be my favorite because it is the best. Technically, dialogically, I made
Oh,
that word up. Made that
okay.
word up just now.
Okay.
Coined it. It's mine. So listen, it can't be anything but number one. And those three made it happen, along with our cast. Anthony Perkins, you're going to know him from a film I just said, Murder on the Orient Express. There's another batshit crazy film called Edge of Sanity, which by the name you can kind of guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just said it. This film was a blessing and a curse for Perkins, because after
Oh,
this one, yeah, a role that he slayed so dead, he wasn't going to get any rom-com roles. You know what I'm saying?
you know, no, he was
No.
not. He was
No.
not, also because he didn't like ladies. So,
You know, he was forever going to be that imbalanced weirdo in everything.
yeah, yeah,
In
because he was
everything.
killing ladies. He was killing all the ladies. He was killing
Right.
them.
But you know, he said that Anthony Perkins and Janet Leigh, um, they said it eventually they didn't mind being stereotyped forever because of their participation in the movie.
Yeah.
They said in interviews they would rather be stereotyped and remembered forever for this movie than not be remembered at all. It almost sounds like that, you know, would rather have loved and lost.
Never loved it all.
Mm.
Well, okay, so you know it's based off of a serial killer, Ed Gein or Gein, right?
Ed Gein, yeah.
So in that book
Damn
about his
Wisconsinian.
it was in that
Yeah.
book,
All the killers come from Wisconsin.
they honestly, and you know what constitutes a serial killer? I mean, the man only killed two people. I don't like what was happening to where he was like, they were like two serial killer
Yeah,
vibes.
I think because they were so grotesque,
That's all
and
they needed
yeah, that's all they needed. It's like that he did enough damage for 10 people with just two people,
with just
you
two
know.
people. So
Mm.
that book about his life had the character or person Janet Leigh, right? But it
Hmm.
wasn't that big of a role. So the writer for Psycho made her role such a significant part. You can't even imagine her not being part of the story, like at all. So,
Yeah, and well, it's funny you bring that up because it kind of goes back to what I just said about that writing dynamic. I
mm,
really think it was Stefano that did the majority of the writing for Janet Leigh, and then Block did basically the rest of the story. But uh, Janet Leigh, let's get into her. The Fog, the Manchurian Candidate, not the Denzel version, but a career all on her own, takes the backseat to nobody, gave us Jamie Lee Curtis. So thanks for that. But she said that when Hitchcock cast her, he gave her three things to remember. He was only going to direct her if she attempted to take more of her share of the pie, B, didn't take enough of it, or C, if she was having trouble motivating the necessary timed movement, whatever the hell that means. But he was going to let her run. And the reason I say that is because Perkins and Leigh, they improvised a lot of their lines.
oh,
And that blows me away because the dialogue of this film is what the film is based around. It's
yeah.
not a visually striking film other than the camera techniques that we just talked about. So knowing you have all this writing on the film and you leave it up to your leads to improv, that's guts, Suki. That is
That is
guts.
guts. That is guts. And also changing her bra color. In the beginning, she had a white bra, but when she turned dirty, she had a black bra.
Man, you know, and that bra was so huge, you could have fit four more titties in each one.
It was Madonna vibes. It was
Yeah,
definitely Madonna vibes.
yeah, man. She could run through a brick wall with that thing, I think.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
listen, the rest of the cast, John Gavin, Martin Balsam, who did a great job as the detective, John McIntyre, the sheriff. They round out a very strong cast.
He
But
did.
let's talk about that symbolism, Suki. You just
I'm
said it.
ready.
Yeah. So the taxidermied birds, first of all, they sit upon the trees and the power lines, just being the voyeuristic animals that they are. And what is Norman Bates but a voyeuristic animal himself? And they're just always watching over us, just as Norman was watching over Marion and who knows who else in the past.
Who knows who
And, you know,
else?
and a lot of these birds are taxidermied. I don't know whether to take that figuratively or literally. Like, was Norman trying to taxidermy Mrs. Bates and she just rotted away, so he took up wearing her clothes and her wig? I don't know. What say you?
Well, yeah, he was trying to preserve his life because when the man comes, okay, so his mama was single for a while, right? And then she gets a
Mhm.
boyfriend. When that man comes, his preservation of life was changed. He wanted to preserve the life that he had had with his mother. So he was
And
trying to,
only.
he was trying to hold on to it.
Mm. Well, there's a lot of mirror shots where you see Marion Crane. And yeah, I think that has a lot to do with facing what she'd done. So, was her fate in Psycho her punishment for stealing from her employer?
No, because she was trying to change. She was going to go back. She made her little registry, she did the little numbers on how much she was going to owe them. They weren't even going to put her in jail. They were just wanting the money back. She was just going to go on home, you know?
That-
Because what did Norman say? Nobody ever really gets away. You can't never run
mm,
away.
Nobody ever really gets away. And he also said we all go a little mad sometimes. And that's exactly what happened. Suki, everything about this film works for me. It's the perfect film for me. But let's start at the beginning. Our leading lady, Marion Crane, steals a large sum of money from her company and she's getting out of Dodge. Once she gets in that car, the guilty conscience brings the weight of the world on her. Does it not?
It does. I mean, she had a couple of chances to stop, though, right? So she's at a light. She sees her boss. That was part one. A cop comes out of no. I mean, first of all, when does a cop have enough time to be checking on people? My thought was there must not have been that many people on the road, so he was like, "Oh, a car. Let's see what
Oh,
this
yeah.
car is doing." So she had a couple of points where she could have turned around.
Yeah, and don't forget the car salesman who seems like he's about to blow her cover. All perfect, all these examples, perfectly crafted, nail-biting moments. But she does arrive at Bates Motel, where we meet Norman, played by Anthony Perkins, who puts on the performance that would make him cinema royalty for the rest of his life. But this film is one of the small percentage in horror movie history that we can say the visuals are the least significant part of the film. Dialogue, juxtaposition, the way and pace the plot unfolds and causes you to have the story written in your head before anything actually happens.
Yeah.
I mean,
And you feel bad. You feel bad for him. Like
you
you
do.
you do feel bad for him in the beginning, and then you're like, wait a minute, friend.
Well, upon first watch, I mean, you have to be thinking, this guy's mother's an evil lady who doesn't want her boy making friends. And we're led to believe she's a disfigured lady. During the shower scene, there's no sight of her face. So what are they hiding, right? I
Yeah.
mean, if you just somehow not seen this film and you have Netflix, you can watch it tonight. And that's what you need to do.
And that's what you
Suki,
can.
tell them I'm too mad.
I'm trying to tell you. I mean, I even had my 16-year-old watch it for the first time. She said, I thought we were done. And then 5 more characters pop up. And now I'm still here. I am still here. Yes, you are. Because there is more. There is so much more to be
But
given.
wait, there's more.
There's more.
So cue up Psycho tonight as you are looking for something to watch. Suki, tell them where to find them on your socials.
You can find me at 80 Suburbia. You can find me on anywhere you get your podcast at Suki's Honeydew Project and
Mm.
Slasher
Check the
Sports
episode,
Family. Mhm.
slashersports.com at that. All right, check us out. So, Psycho is available to you on your Netflix subscription if you got it in the US and A.
Until July
So,
1st, because they're about to remove it. So hurry up.
yeah, hurry the hell up and watch it. Now, for Suki Suburbia, I am Billy Graves. May you drink the blood of your enemies from the skulls of their children.